Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I am Katie, the Mountain Mystic, and I'm so happy to be with you today. I am back home, coming to you once again from my living room after almost 2 full weeks up in the big mountains of Colorado. I've been up there spending most every day. I think I got 3 rest days in the almost 2 weeks I was up there, running the trails, climbing 14ers, just being in the mountains, being with self, in connection to self, in connection to earth as I train for this wild event that is coming up next month. And in this video, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to talk about ultra running, my own wild experience on this life, this experience that brings me such a depth of fulfillment. It is my soul fire, it is my heart fire, it is that which lights me up, brings me joy, brings me meaning, purpose in this life. So I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it not just because you might be someone who's interested in ultra running, but because you, as a listener of this show, are someone who is interested in following the paths in your life that light you up. You are someone who has recognized that many, if not most, of the, what we shall say, sort of traditional paths that our modern world sets up for us just don't bring you the soul fire, the heart fire, the depth of meaning, of purpose that you long for. And you are someone who is out there chasing after the big things in life that light you up. And if you're like me, then those things have to do with connection to nature. I'm a trail runner, I'm a rock climber. I love, love, love summiting big peaks. What matters most to me is being outside, in connection to earth, also in connection to my body. I love the outdoor sport space because it is a space that brings me into connection with self. Whether I'm trail running, whether I'm rock climbing, these are spaces that call upon all that I am. They are practices, or they are spaces that invite in practices like the sort that meditation or yoga would teach, right? This ability to really be clear and discerning, to really be in tune with thoughts, emotions, to be connected in a skillful way, right? In a skillful way. In this kind of extreme way, an extreme way where we have to be discerning. And if we aren't, there are very real consequences, right? This is the space that I love. It's fiery. There's a depth there that I just love. And this is the space I love to teach from the most. I love to teach from the yoga mat. I love to teach from the meditation cushion, you know, those spaces where we can slow down, come into stillness, move gently, move with ease. And in these spaces, do the work, do the beautiful practice, right? The meditation practice, the yoga practice, this embodied spirituality, right? All these skills that we get to develop, the quieting of the mind, the healing of the patterning and the wounds that live within us. I love to teach this in more traditional spaces, like on the yoga mat, like on the meditation cushion. More than anything, I love to put this into practice out on the trails, summiting technical mountain peaks, climbing rock walls, spaces where I can be in connection to my mind, my body, and this planet Earth. Be moving towards specific goals while simultaneously practicing all those important teachings, right? Non-attachment, presence. It's a fun space. It is a space where life gets to unfold with a power, a potency, a magic that I just don't get anywhere else. So again, maybe that's you. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're someone who really loves to practice in what we might call a more traditional way, on the yoga mat, on a meditation cushion. And this is just a conversation that you get to find interesting, but not really your thing. Or maybe this is your thing and it's a conversation where you get to, I don't know, maybe get insight or permission to expand your spiritual practice, expand it out into all of life's playgrounds, right? I like to talk about this, life's playgrounds, because really that's what life is, right? It's all these different playgrounds of experience, whether it's work, whether it's at home with your family, whether it's out in the mountains, whether it's on your meditation cushion, whether it's on your yoga mat. These are all different spaces where we get to show up and practice the same things. We get to practice all those important teachings that we're here learning. Right? There's a problem that arises when we don't do this, when we, shall we say, separate spirituality from family or spirituality from work. Like, yes, on my yoga mat, I will be spiritual and embodied and practicing non-attachment and moving slowly and listening to my body. Oh, but if I'm with my family or if I'm at work, I'm not going to do that, right? We do this in our world. We've been doing this for too long, and it creates so much of the shit show that we experience in our world, right? Going to church and doing all the things you're supposed to do, then leaving church and becoming a completely different person, right? We're done with this paradigm. We're done with this paradigm. And we're moving into this paradigm where life is experienced in every moment as a new opportunity to practice the path, right? And the path, right, the practice is all these skills, all these practices that teachers, mystics, priests, priestesses, right? Everyone's been teaching this for millennia, right? It's the same foundational practices: presence, non-attachment, discernment, right? This is the kind of work we're doing here. So again, whether you're on the yoga mat, whether you're out climbing a mountain, whether you're at home with your kids, it's all the same thing, right? We're all doing the same practice, no matter where we find ourselves in life. But with that, what I want to do is share with you some stories. I have like a whole list of stories I could share from my trip. I had one incredible experience after the next. So we're gonna see what shows up today to be shared here. I'm being drawn right now. There is this one day, right? This one day, maybe I'll call it the biggest day that I had in my week and a half out trail running, climbing mountains. You know, during this whole trip that I took, I probably ran close to 100 miles of trails. I probably climbed somewhere between 40 and 50,000 feet of elevation. You know, summited 7 14ers, was up there near the 14ers, right? Those mountains that are 14,000 feet above elevation in Colorado. And I was having these days, these big days, one day after the next. But there was one day in particular that there are 3 14ers, right? There are 3 14ers in the Sawatch range that I hadn't yet done. And there are 3 mountains that you can do in a day. It's Belford, Oxford, and Missouri, for any who might know the terrain. And what's fun about these is, again, you can do all 3 in a day. It's like a 7,000 foot day, 7,000 feet of climbing, something like 13 or 15 miles, big day. And you're up above tree line for most of it. So things you have to consider: the weather, right? Up in the Rocky Mountains in the summer, you don't want to be caught in big weather because lightning strikes are a very serious thing. I found myself this beautiful day, right? It was a projected blue skies all day. So I had a full day to do these 3 peaks, and 2 problems showed up, right? 2 problems showed up to make this challenge, that's already a wild challenge, even more challenging. One, which I knew of, is that it's still pretty early season. June isn't really peak time for summiting 14ers. There's still a lot of snow up there. And snow sort of ranges from a sort of aggravating challenge to something that can be deadly. So I get up there and I recognize there's still some snow up there, but I also recognize that it's going to be pretty easy to do 2 of the peaks, Belford and Oxford. And these are, I think, what I would say the more common peaks to do. You hike up Belford, then you do this beautiful saddle over to Oxford. But then the catch is you have to get back up to Belford to get back down. So if you're going to go over and do Oxford, it's almost like you're doing 3 14ers, right? Because you got to do the big climb up to Belford, over to Oxford, and then back to Belford. Then you can go down. So I did that, and it was beautiful. I had an amazing day, other than the fact that it was insanely windy, like crazy windstorm, the kind where, I'm summiting Oxford and I'm like grabbing onto rocks, pulling myself to the summit block. But I did those 2, get back to Belford, had a wonderful time, just having a great day. And then I start to head from Belford to Missouri, and I'm looking at Missouri, and what I'm seeing is it's just covered in snow. So as I'm looking at Missouri, I'm telling myself there's no way. There's no way. There is snow covering this mountain. It's late June, so that snow is probably pretty warm. That means there's a high chance of it sliding. So I'm heading down from Belford, and I'm just soaking in the fact that it's been a beautiful, successful day. Right? I did Belford, I did Oxford. I'm not going to get to do Missouri. It's way too covered in snow, but that's okay. Plus, I've been in the wind all day, and it's just so aggravating, awful. Like, I'm just ready to be done. So I'm heading down, and I get close to the fork that's going to take me up Missouri. Every intention of just going right past it and going back to camp. And as I'm doing this, I run into 4 different people, have conversations with these people. And in having these conversations with these people, it becomes clear to me that people actually are climbing Missouri. And while there's snow on it, most of the trail is clear and it's passable and people are doing it. So I'm starting to think like, oh no, it's possible to do the peak. I've got to at least try it. So what happens is there's a couple women who are heading up. They didn't do the other peaks like I did, so they were heading straight up from the trailhead, and they're going to go do Missouri peaks, so I decide to follow them. Very quickly, one of them kind of falls behind, and the other one takes off forward, like she's going for the summit. So we go across the first and the second snow field, and There are footsteps packed into it. I don't know if you've ever crossed a snowfield where you're like crossing and it's kind of hard packed, but then you put your foot down and you post hole through it because the sun's radiating down and the day's getting warmer, so the snow's getting warmer. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about actually the week prior when I had summited La Plata, a nearby peak. I'd summited La Plata, another 14er, for the first time, and I had this beautiful day. I had this beautiful day on that mountain, and on that day, I'm heading up La Plata, and it's just covered in snow. Beautiful, beautiful, because it's covered in snow. And in the morning, what you could do is just walk up the snow, because it was, icy, right? It was frozen. So you could just walk straight up it. I got to the peak, had this beautiful, beautiful experience on the peak, looking all around. The whole Sawatch is just covered in snow still. You can see, over to the San Juans, you can see over to the Elk Range, you can see up north to the rest of the mountains in Colorado. It's this beautiful view, everything snow-packed. So I start heading down, and as I start heading down, I see this group of 3 people heading up the snow patch. And what's happened is they are at least waist deep in the snow because the snow is now starting to melt. And so they're post-holing, and as they're post-holing, they're just going straight down through. So this is scary now, right? This is scary because you post-hole and you just go down. And the question is, how far are you going to go down, right? How deep is that snow? So I'm able to avoid the snow on top and make my way down and keep making my way down. And I'm to the bottom snow patch and try to go back down the direct route I came up. And again, my own self this time just punch straight through. And, I look over and I see a hole that's probably at least 6 feet deep, and it's scary, right? It's scary. This is a snow field that goes over your head. You don't want to be post-holing in it. So I find a different way down that peak. And this is what's in my head, right? This is what's in my head as I'm climbing Missouri a week later, right? So I'm climbing Missouri and I'm starting to go up it. And, the snow is mostly holding. It's mostly holding. So I'm heading up Missouri and some people are heading down it. And every person I talk to, I'm like, hey, how are things up there on the ridge? And everybody tells me, there's a couple snowfields that you have to cross that are sketchy. But if you tell yourself it's okay, it's probably going to be okay. You're fine. It's fine. The snow, the footsteps have been packed in there. It's fine. So I keep heading up and, I eventually get to the first sketchy, truly sketchy snowfield. What makes this snowfield sketchy is this big patch of snow right before you would hit the ridge line. And what makes it sketchy is that at this point, the cliff face, the mountain face, is so steep that this snowfield has the potential to avalanche. But you're looking at this thing, right? And you see the footsteps set into it. And probably 100 or so people have crossed this snowfield to go summit Missouri. So I do what the guy I met on the trail tells me, right? I convince myself it'll be okay. I trust that, 100 other people have done this. I trust that a dozen people have already done it today. And I go up the snowfield and everything's fine. And I hit the ridge line and at this point, the wind picks up again and it's just howling. So I start, I hit the ridge line, but now I have still another quarter to half a mile to kind of hike up the ridge line to summit the peak. So I'm hiking up Missouri, up the ridge line, and it's one of those mountains where you're fine. There's exposure, there's, it's slippery. Like your feet aren't really solid, but you're fine, right? You're taking steps. You're being careful. You're fine. Meanwhile, the wind is just ripping. It's just ripping. So that makes it a little bit sketchier, right? You like really need to stay grounded. But making my way up the ridgeline, and the whole time what's in my head is I have to get back down through that snowfield. It's not enough to summit a peak. You have to turn around and get back down safely. And I'm up on this ridge heading towards the peak, and the whole time I'm just, there's terror building because I have to get back down through that snow patch. So I'm making my way up, and I get to the point where I see the summit. And it's just a short walk, just right there. I've done all this. I've been out there for hours. I've done all this work to get to the top of Missouri. And the summit is right there. Just about to fully finish up the trifecta today. 3 14ers summited. Big day, massive accomplishment. And I'm looking at the summit. And what's separating me from the summit is 2 more snowfields. Now, what these snowfields are snow that's crossing sort of vertical gullies. I can't be up on top of the ridgeline because it's snowed out, so I've kind of been brought down. And there are 2 snowfields crossing 2 vertical gullies. And in these snowfields, you can see the footsteps that other people have put in. And you can see these solid footsteps on what looks like solid snow. If you were to slip, if the snow were to break, you would be gone, right? Taken down at least 1,000 feet. And I'm sitting here, and what I'm holding in this space is I really want to summit, right? This is the 3rd peak that's going to wrap up. I've done all the 14ers in this mountain range. This mountain range that means so much to me. I've done so much to get to the top of this peak today. The peak is right there. Other people have done this today. I can do this. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I called it. I called it quits, and I turned around and I got back to the space where I already had to cross another sketchy snowfield. I had to get back down through multiple snowfields. And I called it quits. And I'm sharing this story because this is one of those stories, one of those experiences that gets to me. It gets to me because I've spent so much time in mountain culture and climbing culture, where the only thing that matters is the peak. The only thing that matters is getting to the top. And as someone who has given so much of her life to that culture, so much of my time, my energy, myself, I've had endless number of experiences, right? I've summited so many peaks. I've completed so many climbs that the experience of it just fills me. I've also had a too long list of being in experiences where people have pushed me to get to the top, to tell myself it's okay, even when it's not. Now there's this gray area, right? There's this gray area that's, well, would it have been okay to cross those 2 final snowfields? Probably. They probably would have held. I probably would have been okay. But in that moment, what was more pressing is the fact that my body was telling me that I wasn't okay. We live in these worlds where we live in this world where we have this paradigm of mind over body, that we can do anything if we just set our mind to it. We say yes and we go for it. And I watch people die because of this. I've experienced trauma in my own body because of this. And I share this story because, yes, this is something that happens in the mountains, but it's also something that happens in society. We live in this world of mind over matter. Again, you can put your mind to whatever you want and do the work, put in the steps, and you can get there. What we do a terrible job of in this world, is being present to the experience that's unfolding, that's telling us whether or not we should actually be doing that thing. So yes, I could have fully summited Missouri. I could have done the thing I set out to do, and it would have been a spectacular accomplishment. But had I done it, I would have once again been doing the thing where I don't listen to my body telling me what is and isn't actually okay. And what trail running and mountain climbing and rock climbing has taught me is that there are very serious consequences when you push too far. When you push too far is when you break bones, tear ligaments. People die because they push too far. And again, we can take this sort of, shall I say, playground and apply it to life in all its different forms. And it's the same thing, right? I think about Elon Musk and his rocket ships, right? He has to build his rocket ships to get to Mars. That's what consumes his mind. That's what matters. And he's living this paradigm that we tell ourselves, right? That you can do anything if you apply your mind to it and do the work and stay consistent. And someday he's probably going to get to Mars. And that will be a success by one definition. What is the cost to doing it? How many rockets is he going to blow up and just litter the oceans with his debris? How much rocket fuel is he going to use? How much is he going to pollute this earth in his attempt to get to Mars? I could go on about this one. I get really fiery about the need to get to Mars or anywhere else in space when we could be focusing our time, our attention, our energy on what needs to happen here on this planet. You know me, everything we do here is about connection to Earth, connection into self, right? Embodiment, mind and body, but embodiment also as this remembering that we are part of this Earth. So any narrative that's like, we need to get away from this Earth, whether it's building rockets or whether it's doing the right thing here so that you can buy yourself a ticket to heaven. Like, I'm not interested. I'm interested in what's here on Earth. Just take a moment to breathe into self. I like to weave practice into these videos, and we're not doing that in this video. I did record 2 Earth embodiment practice focused videos while I was on this trip. I'll link those below so that you can join me in the beautiful mountain spaces that I was out in on this trip and do it in a more embodied, practice-centered space. But I wanted to share this story with you today. You know, I call myself the mountain mystic, right? And I think for a lot of people, it's like, what does that mean? What it means, you know, where it comes from is being a student of embodied spirituality, taking that, applying it in the spaces that most fully, most deeply resonate with my heart and soul, which is the very real mountains on this earth. Trail running, rock climbing, summiting peaks, being out in connection to the mountains. Doing so, you know, there's this cliche, right? This cliche about mountains. There's a lot of cliches about mountains. And a lot of what I want to do here is to kind of transform the cliches and bring the depth back to them, right? So, of course, there's the journey or the destination. Is it the peak or is it the climb? And it's a cliche, but it's a cliche that comes through in my life at a very soulful level, right? Through this story I shared with you today. Was it about the peak? Was it about the journey? Standing there after having gone on this whole wild journey to get to the summit, to get to the peak, staring at the peak finally right in front of me and calling it quits because my body, my nervous system, I was done. And I didn't want to risk my life that day for another peak. I know there are people in this world who will risk their lives for a peak, and I've done enough, you know, technical peaks to recognize that I'm not one of those people. At least not at this point in my life. Maybe if the right peak at the right time in my life showed up. There are one or two peaks on my list that I'm like, okay, one day I will be ready for you, and it will be a risk that will be of a higher degree than I've ever taken. Maybe that day will come, maybe it won't. Anyway, one last piece here and then we're going to wrap up is, you know, what the mountains teach. What the mountains teach is a long list of things. They teach presence. They teach, yes, the journey and everything that it means to be on the journey towards a discrete destination, the peak, the high point. What they teach, for me, what's loudest, is discernment. That ability to make challenging, sometimes heartbreaking calls. It's time to stop. It's time to turn around. This isn't worth it. Or maybe it's, I'm not going to take that path. I need to take this path. You know, my sight is still set on the destination. I'm determined to get there. But this path is no longer feasible. So now I have to go this way. It's going to be more of an adventure route, but I'm going to figure it out. Okay, let's wrap up. Let's wrap up with all the important things to wrap up with. If you want to join me in more practice, the We Are the Forest membership is now open. I have made the decision to move back to there's 3 different payment options. They all get you the same thing, access to the same membership, but it is a pay what feels good in your body to pay kind of approach. It's what we're working with here today based off of your financial needs, what you're going to get out of it. And access to that gives you access to a whole library of guided meditations, embodiment practices, new earth activations. There is so much in there, you guys. I call it a library because it's like that feeling of walking into a library and there's just all these books. You're like, filled with excitement and potential. Where do you get going? Well, you go to the spaces that light you up, that resonate for you each day. Membership is available at upwardslopes.com/memberment. Join me in Circle. Circle, I have made the decision for now to keep them open, free to all. I want you there. I want us having a big, beautiful group of humans who are coming together in service to self and in service to the greater collective web of life on planet Earth. These are our Earth embodiment practices. My Priestesses of a New Earth circle that's been going on for over a year with a beautiful group of women inside the Evolving Sisters Network has now moved over to our space here, and I'm super excited about that. All right, if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know you're listening, what's up for you. Okay, thank you so much for listening today, and I look forward to catching you next time.